Hi everyone and welcome to another video. I'm Lauranemacquart and today we're going to have a little bit of a chatty video because I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed the past couple of months by all of the books that are out there and that I want to read, and it's been growing more and more. Initially, when I thought about all the books that are out there, all the books that I want to read, all the books that sound fascinating, all the books that I want to get to now that are on my TBR, all the books that I want to get to now that I can get from the library, all the books that I wish I would buy to be able to read them now, all the books that I have on my Storygraph list of books that I want to read, that quantity is so big. And where I used to think, cool, I have all of these options. Right now I've been feeling kind of pressured, and it has been so for the past couple of months, and I've kind of been wondering why that is and what I can do about it, because I don't like it. I don't like that when I think of what I want to read next, that somehow it's not that I'm not enjoying what I'm reading, but there is this part of my brain that it also is thinking about the other things that I could be reading, that I should be reading, no, want to be reading, but I just can't get to because there isn't the time. And even if there were the time, there's still more books that come out that I want to read that I could reasonably digest. So it's not as if increasing my reading time would change anything. This is a mentality thing. And part of the reason, I think, is because I set myself a lot of goals and a lot of ways that I want to organize my reading. So what I do now is that every month I make a TBR that takes into account the things that I decided at the beginning of the year that I want to focus on. And to be honest, it was a somewhat longer list. I read approximately 10 books a month, and I don't want to go over that, and I want to spend some other time doing other things. And of those 10, 3 are Invisible Cities book, 1 is a book club book, and I've also recently joined the book club that my mother is a part of, that focuses on books that have been written by French-speaking writers, not necessarily from France, but from French-speaking parts of the world. And I'm super excited for it because it's right up my alley. I also want to reread 1 book a month. I want to read classic. I want to read books from my TBR. I want to read books from the library that I've marked as I want to read for already a couple of years. And it's just been a lot, and it doesn't seem like I've been able to just relax and read what I want to read. I mean, I do want to read all of those books. When I don't, I just don't read them. Even with what happens is when my book club picks a book that I'm not remotely interested in, I don't read it. But it feels like I can't just let myself go. And I've been wondering whether maybe not doing my monthly TBR might help. I mean, last month in March, somehow I had a little bit more space and I was able to just pick up some random books. But afterwards, I wasn't very satisfied because those books that I read weren't hitting the things that I want to read about. So they were all from white authors. They were, well, not necessarily all, but from men, but they were all very standard, maybe. They weren't very provoking, thought-provoking. They were still enjoyable, but not very provoking, and that is what I get from the other books. But I think right now it's not in balance. There isn't enough free space for me to just pick up what I want at that moment, because I've been forcing myself to reach these goals, and I still want to reach these goals, and that's the thing. I can't marry in my head this balance, this way of not putting pressure on myself, because that's it. Right now I'm feeling pressured. I'm feeling overwhelmed by all the books that I want to read in combination with those goals and just the reading for fun. And I still read for fun, that's the thing, but my head just keeps spinning. When I think of Invisible Cities, so that's 3 books a month, but but there's so many books that I would want to read. And I love reading on Discord what other people have been up to or seeing videos. But it just adds to, oh, I want to read that. And it's both being books that I've already been on my radar that, oh yeah, I want to read that, I want to get to it. And also books that arrive on my radar and they're like, yes, I want to read that. And I'm feeling, it's not even that I'm feeling guilt. Maybe I'm feeling inadequate. I don't know. Something has just not been where I wanted. And yeah, I'm just a little bit overwhelmed and I don't know what to do about it. Should I just take a break? No, because what am I going to do? I'm going to feel overwhelmed. Am I going to feel overwhelmed by the books that I'm not reading at that moment? I don't know. Do I just have fear of missing out? I don't know right now what I want, I think. I think I want too many things. Now also with all the prizes long list that are being announced, there's so many things that I want to read in the coming month, and I have a couple of buddy reads that are coming up. And there just isn't the time! And that just adds to it. And it comes into priorities. What are my priorities? Do I want to read the books that are my TBR? Do I want to read fantasy? Do I want to continue reading all of those books from around the world? Should I just accept that maybe I don't do all 3 countries from Invisible Cities and maybe just the ones that I haven't read something yet of? I don't know. And because I don't know what I'm going to do. So maybe the point of this video is for me to try to figure it out, but yeah, I wonder maybe what you guys think. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by all the books? I usually only have it for smaller periods, but now it's been a couple of months, and that's just not how I want to feel. I want to enjoy the things that I've been reading and not think, oh, I could also have been reading that. It's okay, I'm reading what I'm reading at this moment, and there are years to come where I can read all of the other books, and maybe I don't read them, that's also fine. But somehow this rational thinking is not influencing my emotions at this moment. But maybe, yeah, I should drop some books off of the list of things that I want to get to this month. But then what do I choose? My book club? No, I love my book club. The book club of the French-speaking countries? No, I want to taste that as well. The butter reads? No, I want to do those as well, and I've been loving Invisible Cities, so I should realize that it's about priorities. It's not about doing or not doing something, but it's about choosing one thing over another. But I don't know what yet. Should I not reread books? No, because I love to reread books. Do I love it more than my book club? No. Okay, so maybe rereading will go to that one I might, it's not my main priority, I can let that one go. I do want to continue with Invisible Cities, if I'm honest. I've been loving that too much, but maybe I could give myself some slack when it's a country that I've already read. For example, in the month of May there's going to be North Korea, and I have read a North Korean book at the end of last year, so maybe I should give myself some slack on that one. But there's so many books that I want to read. But yeah, maybe it's also I should accept that it's about giving myself a little bit of space to read other things. It's going to be fine anyway. I'm going to continue reading, and I'm going to continue reading good books. Because if I don't like them, I DNF them. And I haven't been DNFing a lot until now this year, and maybe that is also because I'm just feeling pressured to read the things, or maybe I'm just making good choices, I don't know. Maybe that just doesn't have anything to do with wanting to read all the books. Another thing is I've been wondering how much BookTube is a part of this pressure, because obviously when I watch a video, I want to know what those books are, and I get excited. If someone else is excited about a book, I get excited most of the time. And sometimes they're books that were on my radar. Maybe it's especially when it's books that are already kind of on my radar, and that I forgot that I want to read, that makes me feel not good enough because I wanted to read them. Or when I look at my TBR, like, for example, a book like the Makioka Sisters, I'm so excited to get to it. I got it in January, and I was planning to get to it in January, but now I just can't seem to make the time. And maybe I also just feel guilty about that. There's also, I have a big non-fiction book about the history of Europe that I really want to read, but I just don't know when. And making it monthly TBR worked very well in the beginning because it allowed me to, every time that I thought about what I'm going to read yet in the future, I just think, well, you'll see that next month. And that was very relaxing. But now I'm realizing that because I have already filled in all my 10 slots, I can't think, well, you see that next month, because I think, but there's not going to be time next month. That's what I've been realizing now, is that I don't have the time. And before, I just didn't know. I was kind of living, maybe that's it. I was living this blissful life of not knowing when I was going to pick up a book. And now I'm realizing that the books that I want to read are coming up in at a higher rate than I read them. And it's not a question of buying less books, because it's not only the books on my TBR, it's also other books. Maybe something that I should do is that the books that I now mark as one to read every time on Storygraph, maybe I should not directly mark them as one to read, and just every month keep it as a separate list, and at the end of the month filter the books that, yes, I want to read, and kind of already make a conscious decision about them, to realize that, okay, you wrote down 50, that is good, but if I maybe already prioritize them at that moment, then I might realize for myself, well, it's okay. You're choosing not to read this because you know that you will read something else more. You will prefer to read something else. Maybe that could also be a system, but to be honest, I don't see myself as sitting down to do that. That's going to be something I might do, maybe do 4 times a year, and then just feel guilty about not filtering out my want to read list. Also, Storygraph doesn't have a system where you can make multiple shelves. But yeah, that might be a thing. Being more conscientious about the books that I want to read, and then it might also be in the hope that that makes me accept that the books I don't decide to read, I just decide not to read them instead of what's happening now, and that is that, like, but I want to read you, but I can't, and then I feel guilty and pressured and overwhelmed. So yeah, that's been going on right now in my life. If you have any thoughts about this, please let me know, because I'm a little bit stuck in my brain, because I think now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it, the main point is that I'm just not accepting that what I do is good enough. That what I do is what I want to do, so why want to do more? It's not possible. There's this little piece of accepting that's just not clicking in right now. And maybe my quarterly update, a video that is going to be and prepared and filmed and updated in I don't know when, maybe that will be the moment for me to change some of the guidelines that I set myself and work on accepting that I am reading for fun. And that, yes, I want to read more diversely, and I want to read classics, and because all of these things make me happy, but doing all of the things doesn't make me happy, is the conclusion. I'm going to stop rambling. If you have any thoughts, again, please let me know, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.